Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of The Blue Wave, where we talk all things American politics and news. I'm your host, Max Lopez. We have another really great show lined up for you today. We're going to be starting off with new evidence of Trump pressuring Arizona Governor Doug Ducey to overturn his election defeat in Arizona in the 2020 presidential election. Now, we've heard stuff about Trump calling Brad Raffensperger in Georgia a totally different state, but now this is some new revelations coming out, and we'll read the article and we'll hear what Mike Pence has to say about it. Next, we're going to be looking at Lindsey Graham being mercilessly booed during a speech in Dickens, South Carolina, a speech at a Trump rally, essentially what was happening. And it really just shows that the GOP voter base that supports Trump has become a monster that the creator cannot control anymore. And it really just goes to show you how deranged these Trump supporters are, given the fact that Lindsey Graham kisses Trump's ass every single chance that he gets. Third, we're going to be looking at DeSantis no longer has a respect for the rule of law. And we're going to be looking at potential legal trouble that he could be in for his different political stunts he's played out in the last few months involving migrants and shipping migrants from Florida to different states around the country. We'll be looking at conservative influencers pushing anti-birth control message. We'll look a bit at the concerted effort of different influencers and how they are all lock and step with their messaging now has shifted to being anti-birth control because abortion's already fallen. So, they're going to keep going. They're going to keep stripping rights away. They're going to keep taking freedoms away from people, especially women. And this is the latest manifestation of that effort. And then lastly, we're going to be doing something a little different. We're going to be looking at a clip from Keeping Up with the Kardashians where Kris Jenner breaks down in tears over her guilt for propelling her family to such notoriety and stardom and fame and fortune that she feels bad about it for some reason, that her family is rich and famous. Just absolutely crazy stuff, and I think that Kris Jenner should be embarrassed for herself for what she says in this clip. So I'll get to that later in the show. But like I said, we're going to be starting off here with an article from CNN that says Trump pressured Arizona governor after 2020 election to help overturn his defeat. Sorry, I didn't mean to play that. So we've heard a lot about the how Trump called Brad Raffensperger the Georgia Secretary of State, and he famously or infamously, however you look at it, said, "Just find me the votes. Find me the votes. You can find them, right? You can find me votes." And it was seen as a blatant attack on American democracy. And now we have more information coming out about just how anti-democratic this guy is and how anti-American this guy Trump is. So following his defeat in the 2020 election, Trump spoke to Arizona Governor Doug Ducey to discuss the results. A source familiar with the call told CNN. Publicly, Ducey said at the time that the two Republican leaders had spoken, though he did not describe what they had talked about. Behind closed doors, Ducey said that the former president was pressuring him to find fraud in the presidential election in Arizona that would help him overturn his loss in the state. A source with knowledge said Trump narrowly lost Arizona to Joe Biden by less than 11,000 votes. There was no recording made of the call between Trump and Ducey, according to a source familiar with the matter. Trump also repeatedly pressured his vice president, Mike Pence, to help him find evidence of fraud and overturn the 2020 election results. Pence spoke to Ducey multiple times about the election, though he did not pressure the governor as he was asked, sources familiar with the call said. A spokesperson for Pence declined to comment. Washington Post first reported, Trump publicly attacked Ducey, a former ally, over the state's certification of the results. As Ducey was certifying the election results in November 2020, Trump appeared to call the governor with a "Hail to the Chief" ringtone heard playing on Ducey's phone. Ducey did not take that call, but later said he spoke with Trump, though he did not describe the specifics of the conversation. And it goes on here. It says those efforts include overreach to various state officials, including Georgia Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger, whom Smith has interviewed. In January 2021, Trump told Raffensperger to find the votes he needed to win the state. So it's clear as day, folks. We've had plenty of evidence up until this point that Trump is an anti-democratic, anti-American shit stain on our country, okay? And this guy, if it was up to him, he would not have any more elections. And this is what makes the 2024 election so pivotal, is that if Trump wins, okay, I'm of the thinking that American democracy might be toast if Trump wins, because you best believe that the measures that were in place that kept Trump from stealing the 2020 election, he is going to do everything he can to purge any officials that are deemed to be unloyal and insufficiently loyal to his cause. And he's going to spend years and years and years doing so in the lead up to a 2028 election. And by the time we got to 2028, there's going to be so much rot in our institutions in terms of Trump personally being able to place people who are not democratically inclined in positions of power to tilt the election in his favor, regardless of how the American voters voted. So this is really a all hands on deck election here, and this is really every presidential election from here on out until the GOP stops this anti-democratic crap that they're all signing up for. Every presidential election is an election where if the GOP wins, we are screwed, okay? And our American democracy may fall. It barely survived Trump's first term, okay? And it came down to some quick thinking and quick actions of a few people on January 6th that saved American democracy from falling. And you best believe that if Trump wins the 2024 election, we might not even have a 2028 election. And if we do, it's going to be totally tilted towards Trump's favor, is what I'm thinking. Read a little bit more of the article here. A Trump spokesman said in a statement, "These witch hunts are designed to interfere and meddle in the 2024 election in an attempt to prevent President Trump from returning to the White House to make the country great again. They will fail and President Trump will be reelected." Dude, it's not a witch hunt, okay? I'm so sick of this term, witch hunt. It's called consequences for your actions. It's called you do something that's illegal. You do something that is undemocratic. You do something that is wrong morally and legally and every other way you could characterize it. And guess what? People are going to react to your actions that are perceived to be anti-democratic. Like, I'm so sick of this term, just everything just being a witch hunt. No, it's called consequences for your actions, bro. That's what it is. Yeah, pretty crazy stuff. More evidence of Trump pressuring directly election officials and governors to overturn the 2020 election results. I mean, who else did Trump call? Who else did he call? Who didn't he call? I guess might be a better question. Who didn't Trump call to overturn the 2020 election? And people still say he's not an anti-democratic piece of crap. Very, very surprising. So Lindsey Graham gave a speech in South Carolina, in Dickens, South Carolina, to be exact. And it did not go well for him. And at the start of his speech, he's having trouble even just getting a word out and starting up his speech and getting into his GOP talking point spiel because he's being booed by the crowd mercilessly. So we're going to look at this clip here together of Lindsey Graham being booed by a crowd in South Carolina.
Well,
Lindsey Graham's going, thank you. It's great to be here. Boo, boo, we hate you. You're a traitor. We like Trump, but we don't like you. Oh, thank you. Thanks for having me. It's so great. Come on. American politics is beyond parody, ladies and gentlemen. It's beyond parody. It's not that we've reached a point where everything is a parody. It's like it's beyond that.
Well, you want to find something common? All right, thank y'all. Thank you all very much. Welcome to Pickens County. A little bit about this county. Just calm down for a second. I think you'll...
Just calm down for a second. Bro, do you know who you're talking to? You're talking to a group of voters whose main political sticking point in the last election was to go after Anthony Fauci. And to this day, a virologist, gets threats to his family and gets threats to himself over just doing his job as a government official. Okay. That's the group we're talking about here. Telling him, calm down. Oh yeah, Lindsey. Calm down. That's really gonna get the crowd to listen to you. Come on, man.
Like this. Pickens County has more Medal of Honor winners per capita than any place in the nation. I was born in this county. I live 15 miles down the road. This is a place where people pay the taxes.
This is a place where people pay their taxes. Wow, what an awesome, unique thing about Pickens, South Carolina. They pay their taxes there in Pickens, South Carolina. People pay their taxes in all 50 states. What the hell? And the Trump crowd, what the Trump crowd seems to be confused about is that Lindsey Graham is like the #1 ass kisser of Trump in history. Okay, like have people seen? You guys got to go watch this clip. Okay, of Lindsey Graham on Fox News that came out sometime earlier this year. And he is in tears practically on Fox News. He legitimately. Okay, I don't want to exaggerate. I don't know if he was. I don't remember him being in tears. Okay, but Lindsey Graham was legitimately getting choked up and emotional over telling people to donate to Trump because that's going to be what saves our country. And he legitimately looks like he's on the verge of crying in this Fox News clip. I should have had it pulled up here, honestly. Sorry about that. But go and look up Lindsey Graham on Fox News, practically in tears over how badly he wants people to donate to Trump. It's sickening. It shows how much of a shill Lindsey Graham is and how unprincipled he is. But I guess these Trump voters missed that memo and they're booing him. Crazy stuff. Ron DeSantis has no respect for the rule of law, and his antics involving immigrants and shipping them around to different states is going to be something that could land him in legal trouble. So what we'll look at here is this Salon article. It says Ron DeSantis has no respect for the rule of law. Now the Florida governor is facing real problems and potential legal jeopardy over his reckless political stunt. I have it's a bit of a long article, so I don't want to read the whole thing, but what I did is I cut out some key excerpts of the article, and I'm not able to put those up on screen, unfortunately, but what I'm going to do is I'm just going to read them out to you here. So, Ron DeSantis has some real problems. This is the Salon article. No, we are not referring to the fact that he trails Donald Trump in the polls, or to his awkwardness as a retail politician. Far more concerning are the criminal referrals and investigations surrounding the DeSantis administration's relocation of migrants from Texas to Massachusetts and California. Criminal investigations in which the Florida governor may have, through his own boasts, implicated himself. Last September, a group of 48 mostly Venezuelan migrants who had surrendered themselves to immigration officials upon crossing the border, many reportedly seeking asylum, were put on planes and flown from Texas to Martha's Vineyard at the behest and expense of the DeSantis administration. It is alleged that the migrants were lured onto the flights with false promises of employment, housing, educational opportunities, and other assistance. They were apparently provided with the official-looking materials such as a fake agency brochure that created the false impression that the trip was part of the normal immigration process. So these people got totally duped and totally misled into flying to Martha's Vineyard. So this is a bit later on in the article. It says, let's set aside the cruelty of exploiting vulnerable immigrants for political purposes. Worse still, the stunt was arguably criminal, and at least some of those involved appear to have been referred for prosecution by Texas law enforcement. As one author of this article noted when the story first broke, Texas law criminalizes unlawful restraint, intentionally restricting a person's movement or moving them from one place to another without consent. The law expressly says that there is no consent where there was deception, as well as force or intimidation. DeSantis has said that the migrants went voluntarily, but this is hardly a defense if they were deceived in any significant way, such as about where they were going, by whom, for what purpose, and what would be awaiting them. Texas also criminalizes the exploitation of children and the elderly, defined as illegal or improperly using someone for monetary or personal benefit. Children and elderly people were reportedly on board the flight to Martha's Vineyard. And the stunt certainly benefited DeSantis by gaining him media exposure. There was likely a fundraising benefit as well. DeSantis reportedly told top party donors about the Martha's Vineyard relocation before it happened and has used it to solicit campaign contributions. Oh shit. DeSantis is both his boastfulness and his egotism could be landing him in some legal water here. Legal hot water, that is. Texas, they criminalized exploitation of children and the elderly, defined as improperly using someone for monetary or personal benefit. And if DeSantis personally benefited, and as well monetarily benefited, well, it sounds like he's in violation of Texas law, does it not? So the next excerpt here, back to the article. It says there are other potential criminal violations emanating from this incident as well, both state and federal. Those range from the fraudulent use of personal information to human trafficking. After facts about the Martha's Vineyard trip started to emerge, the sheriff of Bexar County, Texas, Javier Salazar, announced a criminal investigation into the matter. The flights to Martha's Vineyard left from San Antonio in Salazar's jurisdiction. Recently, Sheriff Salazar disclosed that his agency had concluded its investigation and referred the case to the local prosecutor's office for charges to be filed. At this time, it is not publicly known whom he may have named or on charges, although state felony and misdemeanor unlawful restraint is said to be among them. As if all that were not bad enough, news of Salazar's criminal referral came in close proximity to news of additional possible crimes implicating DeSantis. The California Attorney General Office is investigating the case of 36 migrants who were recently abandoned outside a church building in Sacramento after being transported on 2 flights from El Paso. After California Attorney General Rob Bonta said that the evidence suggested that Florida officials were responsible and promised to aggressively investigate what he called the morally bankrupt incident, Florida authorities acknowledged responsibility. California's false imprisonment statute is similar to Texas's unlawful restraint law and also can be either a misdemeanor or a felony. California Governor Gavin Newsom has raised questions about kidnapping, a more serious felony defined as moving someone, through force or through fear. Florida officials countered that the relocations were voluntary and that the migrants had provided consent verbally and in writing. Legal analysis immediately began to question whether or not criminal charges could be brought and might extend to DeSantis. He did little to just distance himself from the issue, declaring on a trip to the Arizona-Mexico border that the sanctuary jurisdictions in states like Massachusetts and California were part of the reason America has this problem, and saying when they have to deal with some of the fruits of that, they all of a sudden become very, very upset about that. DeSantis also said his administration's handling of the migrants had been debated and vetted by Florida legislators who'd agreed to set aside millions for the program. No, DeSantis is totally wrong here. People are not upset at the mere fact that we're having to deal with these migrants and we're having to do something with them. No, we're upset on the liberal side at the fact that these migrants are being put through unnecessary harm and anguish and fear and pain and suffering. That's what we're upset about, because we on the left here believe that people that are seeking to come to this country, okay, and they're seeking to build a better life for themselves, and if they're willing to go through the legal channels and go through the proper the proper authorial process to come to America, let them in, okay? I don't think Gavin Newsom is upset about having to potentially house and feed and deal with these migrants. We're upset that the Florida governor and other governors are so anti-immigrant that they're willing to perpetrate so much pain and suffering to these people. That's what's upsetting. But yeah, so pretty serious stuff here. Whether or not, this is going to result in serious legal trouble for DeSantis, it's a bit hard to say. It's a bit of a convoluted issue, and it's just too early to say. I think that it's possible. I think that he should be legally prosecuted, but we'll see what happens. All right, next up here, we have conservatives pushing anti-birth control messaging now on social media because they got Roe v. Wade overturned, and the 70 years plus of legal precedents that provided in terms of women being able to access an abortion in any state, that's been overturned. So what are they going to do? They're not going to stop there. They're going to continue to strip away women's rights and people's rights in whatever possible way that they can. So now what they've come up with is we're going to go after birth control, because we all know that women having unwanted babies and women being forcing forced birth on women, that is a huge priority of the modern day GOP. So yeah, to say that this is surprising, I can't necessarily say that this is surprising, but for the Republican agenda, one of the main things of the Republican agenda is force women to create as many wage slaves as they possibly can throughout their lives. That's what Republicans view women as. They view them as a vehicle to produce as many wage slaves as they can to contribute to our capitalistic, corporate-centered country that we live in. And they want capitalism to continue as much as it possibly can. And you can't have companies that are paying people very, very low wages and giving them very, very little opportunity. You can't have that continue for forever if women are deciding in enough numbers that they don't want to reproduce and they want to do other things with their lives and have other pursuits and other dreams and goals than just create children. Conservatives don't want that. They don't want that at all. It goes against, it's an antithesis to their whole political viewpoint and their whole absolute love and steadfast, ironclad approach to capitalism, and how capitalism is the best thing ever made ever, and we need as much capitalism as we can possibly get. So let's go ahead and look at the article here. It says, conservative influencers are pushing an anti-birth control message. This is from NBC News. Major conservative influencers on social media platforms such as Twitter and Rumble have coalesced in recent months around talking points that connect birth control with a variety of negative health outcomes, which experts say instill fear in women who could otherwise benefit from using birth control. But the information the influencers are referring to lacks crucial context, says Dr. Danielle Jones, an OBGYN. And they fail to include recent scientific developments that challenge their narrative. Tim Pool, or Dim Tool as I like to call him, Dim Tool, Ben Shapiro, and Steve Bannon have all made anti-birth control content in the past 6 months. Sometimes they feature female conservative personalities who make content about women's issues. Alex Clark, who hosts a pop culture show for the youth conservative messaging organization Turning Point USA, is one conservative woman who has railed against hormonal birth control in recent months. The progressive watchdog publication Media Matters for America First reported that Clark said in her mission is to get young women off this pill. In a response sent in a direct message, Clark wrote, "Birth control can be right in some cases, but we shouldn't just take it blindly because of acne. And we shouldn't treat it as the default for all women." Oh yes, because women are taking birth control blindly because of acne. That's just stupid. Okay, that is just stupid. Like, women are taking birth control to avoid being impregnated with a child. Okay? That's the reason women take birth control. I mean, come on. Talk about a false equivocation. While some strains of conservative policies have spent years attacking birth control, the more recent resurgence of anti-birth control talking points comes alongside a broader push from online conservative creators against the medical establishment and treatments from vaccines to gender-affirming care. Clark called birth control synthetic as opposed to pregnancy, which she called natural. The social media trend of attacking birth control has also coincided with legal and legislative efforts targeting birth control access, most notably emergency contraceptives. In response to the Supreme Court's ruling that revoked the constitutional right to an abortion, Justice Clarence Thomas wrote that the court should reconsider other decisions, including those codifying the right to contraceptive access. So it's like, just really confusing, you know what I mean? Like, we have these women that are saying, oh, it's unnatural to take birth control. That's unnatural. That's not the way that things were. And it's true, right? It's true that for a long time in human history, women did not have access to birth control. They did not have access to abortions. And, well, my argument is, throughout history, it's generally sucked to be a woman. Okay, it's like, it's just a lot of the things that we take for granted, and a lot of the things that would seem totally normal for women to do throughout history has been it's been impossible for women to do. So this idea that, oh, well, we should go back to how it was in the olden days when there was no birth control, and women, if you got pregnant, if you had sex and you got pregnant, well, that was that. And if you don't want to get pregnant, don't have sex. Well, like, why would we want to resort back to that? I mean, do people remember, like, it wasn't until 1917, okay, that women had access to the right to vote? And it wasn't until even after that that women had the right to have access to their own bank account. It was in the mid 70s, I believe. So it's like, why would we want to restrict rights and go back to how it was before, when how it was before there was tons and tons of repression and tons of women who never lived to their full potential because of the burden of having to reproduce and not being able to have sexual liberation without the constant worry of having to birth children. Like, I just don't get it. I guess really what their goal is to have women not be sexually liberated and have to always have the economic threat of being forced to have a child over their head every time that they have sex. I guess that's what conservatives want, which seems like a really backwards, barbaric, archaic way of viewing things, but I guess that's just what they want. Jones, who is a YouTube creator with 1.2 million subscribers, has made multiple videos discussing the rhetoric around reproductive health. In a recent interview, she said that the primary tactic she's observed on social media to undermine birth control has been to take a study that backs up what they're saying, then use that to draw some extravagant conclusion. Yeah, it's called confirmation bias. Okay, the Republicans do this over and over and over again, and then what they'll point to is they'll find some conservative-leaning organization that does some study that is totally loaded and is totally not a fair and measured study, and then they go, see, told you we're right, told you. They'll look at that one piece of evidence, and then you could have one piece of evidence backing up their point, and then there's 50 other pieces of evidence telling them that they're directly wrong, and they'll go with the one piece of evidence that's saying that they're right, and they'll act like that it's written in the sky that it's true because this one organization said it. Okay, it's like, look at what happened with the whole anti-vax movement and the whole backlash against getting the COVID vaccine because of it's going to cause heart murmurs, or it's going to cause blood clots, or whatever the hell crazy things that they're talking about. And you have one study that would come out and say this one person got some blood clots after taking the COVID vaccine. And it's not necessarily totally conclusive if the COVID vaccine directly caused or directly had an effect on the health outcome of this particular person. But that doesn't really matter because all the conservatives are going to scream at the top of their lungs about is that this one organization agreed with my viewpoint, so therefore I am right. Like, that's not how it works, okay? But I'm telling that to conservatives. It's not an easy task. And let me just remind everybody. I've said this in past videos before, but more people died from the COVID pandemic than every American war combined. And yes, that's counting the Civil War, which accounts for a lot of Americans' overall deaths in combat, because no matter who died on either side, it was an American that was dying. So, yeah, every single war combined, every one. World War II, the Vietnam War, the Iraq War, the Gulf incursions, every one. Okay, COVID killed more people in a span of 2-3 years or whatever now. So, yeah, this I don't think the Republicans have shown themselves to be very astutely able to assess data and to come to a valid, realistic conclusion based on that data. What they do is they cherry pick, they participate in confirmation bias, and they want to find things that support their narrative, and that's what they're going to go towards. So one last little part of the article here. It says Ashley St. Clair, who has more than 673,000 Twitter followers, referred to the association suggested in the study in a tweet in which she said, "Do you know the birth control bills increase risk of suicide and suicidal ideations?" In June, Elon Musk liked a number of anti-birth control tweets, including St. Clair's tweet. Jones said the 2018 Dutch study also into suicide and hormonal birth control was really important and well done. But she said just reading the 2018 study's abstract and drawing conclusions from that alone is lacking crucial context when making medical decisions. Primarily, she said, the risks of contraceptive use are not compared to the same risks in pregnancy, which she said are higher. A 2018 study specifically acknowledges that pregnancy also has associations with higher rates of suicide. and women that have children that they're not economically ready to have, they fucking end up becoming more sad and more desperate than women who are able to access birth control and not economically devastate themselves just because they want to have sex. Like, come on. So yeah, any risks of using birth control, let's take their premise and run with it. Let's say that there are some major health risks to using birth control, which outside of, mood swings and a few different side effects that happen, there aren't any major health effects that result from taking birth control. But let's assume that there is, okay? And let's take their argument and go with it here. So let's say that there are health risks with taking birth control, and a woman doesn't take birth control because of health risks associated with it, and then she goes and becomes pregnant. Well, guess what? A pregnancy carries all sorts of different health risks with it as well. So to just say flatly that, the health risks of taking birth control are more significant or outweigh the potential health risks of a pregnancy, that's just not true. Just not true. And that's even if we're taking their argument at face value, which I don't necessarily believe that birth control has major health effects. So yeah, so go ahead and go back into the article here. It says, there's extensive data on this, she says, being this gynecologist. If birth control is safe enough to advocate that it should be over the counter, there's absolutely no reason it should start to become a topic of legislation about who can access it and why. Still, Jones says, the way conservative influencers weaponize research about birth control side effects has a real-world effect. She said it is a daily occurrence for women at her practice to decline using hormonal birth control out of fear that it will cause permanent changes to their body and fertility. You're basically scaring people out of using birth control and not even comparing it to pregnancy. In place of birth control, she said, many conservatives have taken a page from the natural health community and promoted cycle tracking and other fertility awareness methods. Several of the female conservative influencers write for and share articles from EV Magazine, a media company whose founder also created a cycle tracking startup called 28 by EV. So they have financial reasons to not be anti-birth control in some instances. And according to the Mayo Clinic, fertility cycle tracking is among the least effective types of birth control, and the effectiveness varies by couple. It's said that as many as 24 out of 100 women who use natural family planning will become pregnant within the first year. So it's like using this period tracking, fertility tracking, naturalistic fertility tracking. They placed it as some alternative to the evil birth control that's gonna make you have all these different health issues. But again, it's not mentioning anything about the health issues of a pregnancy. It's not mentioning anything about the financial implications of being forced to have a child that you don't want to have. And not only that, but the data shows us that this sort of tracking is not nearly effective as the pill. So I'm not sure what their argument is. I really do not get it. And I think it's really that they don't have an argument and that they just want to take rights away from women, and they want to take rights away, and they want to take away women's ability to be sexually liberated and to enjoy having sex without the threat of becoming impregnated. That's what they want to take away. So lastly here, we have Kris Jenner in an emotional wreck of a state over the fact that her family is rich and famous and successful and has a TV show that is watched by millions and millions of people. Allow me to bust out the world's smallest violin and play a tune for Kris Jenner. One moment. Okay, we played the song. Let's go ahead and get into the clip here, because it's ridiculous that somebody could be so upset over their rich fortunes and the fact that they are extremely famous. Let's go ahead and check out the clip here.
We've built this amazing life for ourselves, and sometimes I feel like it can be a curse.
Kris Jenner gets emotional about her famous family and questions if putting them on the path to fame was the right decision. On the June 29th episode of Hulu's The Kardashians, Kris visits Kim ahead of the Skims mogul's 42nd birthday. The milestone gets Kris thinking about the amazing success she and her children have created, but wonders about the cost.
I've helped build something that can also be a burden. The haters. Yeah. They're so brutal sometimes. And I feel bad that I've brought this element, to our lives. And it's hard. It's a struggle. When my kids are in pain, I'm in pain. When my kids hurt, I hurt. And I never know what I'm going to wake up to. It could be the greatest day in the world and just feeling so blessed to be alive, or it could be a little dark and there could be things going on that we can't control.
But Kim tries to alleviate her mom's pain.
I wish that everybody knew how beautiful and delicious your heart was.
Thank you.
And they would never say one thing about you.
Thinking like, I wish I didn't, you know, help all my kids get famous. You just can't live like that. This is also our journeys, and we wanted this, and you just helped us fulfill our dreams and like what our potential was.
And sometimes the struggle is a little
Oh my goodness. I have to actually agree with Kim Kardashian here. She's saying this is our journey and you helped us achieve what we wanted. So thank you for that. Smacking some sense into her mother. I mean, it's like, Kris Jenner, nobody's forcing you to do this show. Nobody. All you have to do, Kris Jenner, if you don't want the negative effects of being one of the most notorious families in the United States, just go and donate all of your money, donate it all away, go off, buy some nice piece of land somewhere, build yourself a nice cabin in the woods, and enjoy your family. And tell the filming crew and tell the television company that is continually Hulu, I guess. Hulu would be Hulu, who they keep signing contracts with to have more seasons and more episodes of Keeping Up with the Kardashians. Go off, go find some nice, beautiful place, build yourself a nice cabin, and just go and not do anything with the media for the rest of your life. Okay, that is your your right and your freedom to do that in this country. But to act like, oh, we have this show and we're so famous that we have so many haters, and I can't believe I've gotten my kids to be so famous that it must be so hard for them. I've just thrust this fame and fortune upon them. Like, dude, nobody's forcing the show to continue. Nobody. The reason that the Kardashians are so interested in continuing this show and exposing every aspect of their personal lives to millions and millions of people is because it makes them a shitload of money. That's why they do it. That's why they do it. It makes them a shitload of money. But now the show that's made us a shitload of money, now it's suddenly an issue. What the hell? Like, these people are just so dumb. I'm sorry. This is the fact that so many people are tuned into this stupid show, and what these stupid, narcissistic, egotistical people have to say about every issue and what they're doing on a day-to-day basis. This is a serious problem in this country, folks. It's a serious problem. And if you look here, just a quick Google search will tell you the Kardashian net worth is $2 billion. $2 billion. Where do we think that most of this money has come from? Okay. Sure, they have other ventures, and sure, they have business successes outside of just the show, right? Of course they do. And I'm not trying to belittle the Kardashians and to say that they have no talent or no there's no reason that they should be as famous as they are or whatever. No, okay, they've worked hard. They've created this pretty interesting show about their day-to-day lives and their day-to-day interactions. But it's like, that's fine. Okay, that's fine. That's their right to do that. That's their right to have their show about their lives. If people want to watch it and people enjoy it, whatever, okay? But the fact that she has the audacity to be in tears over the fact that they're so rich and famous? I mean, wow. And then they wonder why people think they're a bunch of stuck up elitist people. You know, it's like, let's broadcast this to all of America, and then when America like laughs at us because of how silly and ridiculous we are being, we're gonna like get all like sad about our fortune and our fame because of how it affects us. Come on. If you're so worried about the fame affecting your family, end the show. It's that simple. But that's all I got for you guys in this one. I want to thank you so much for watching. Please be sure to like the video, subscribe, and comment down below. Let me know what you think about all the different topics we talked about. And I'll be sure to catch you in the next one. All right, peace.